Hello, welcome to the stream. Good morning, or good evening, or good night, whatever the fuck you want it to be. It's Scum Villain time. But yeah, we're reading the Scum Villain self-saving system. You don't understand though. The thing is that this is my favorite series of all time, and it's so stupid, and you're gonna have so much fun, and it's gonna be so fucking fun, and you don't even understand how much fun it is. I binged this series. I didn't even listen to it. I read it, properly read it, word after word, trekking along in this journey because it's so fun. Because it's so fucking fun, and you just can't put it down. Oh my god. Actually, it did take me a little while to get started, but it's a good one. It's a good one. It's a great one. I wouldn't say it's the best series ever. It is my favorite. Whatever that means, whatever that says about me, says about me. But it is my favorite. I wouldn't say it's the best book ever. It's not the most, it's not the best written. It doesn't have the best plot or whatever. I just love it. I think it's so funny and so stupid and weirdly angsty, and you can do so much with it in fandom. It's just a peak series for fandom, and that's why I love it. That's why I love it. If you don't know, this book, if it's the best book for you, what? This book is written by MXTX, Mojang Tong Shu. You may have heard of MXTX's other works, such as Heaven Official's Blessing, or The Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. I never call it that. That one is just MDZS to me. Modao Zushi. Then I won't like it out of spite. Fuck you! You can take your leave. Actually, don't, because you actually, you're not allowed to leave, actually. You know what's sad is that I didn't get the, is it the exclusive version? I don't know. At the end of most of these, Danmei series, for the last book, they usually have little goodies and stuff for things. I didn't get that, so I don't have a bookmark. I don't have a special bookmark for this series. Oh my god, I wish I had it so bad. Oh, I'm stupid. If anybody has the exclusive version and would like to give it and would like to donate it, oh man. You need your points. 7 stream streak. Did I even stream 7 times? Ever? Okay, anyway. We're fine. I have tea. This is gonna be so fun. I love this book. That's too hot. And it tastes like... Hello? Hang on. It's reminding me of a very specific candy. I think it's like those Arabic candies that are like hard candies, and they're like individually wrapped and they're tiny. I think that's what it's reminding me of. It's supposed to be a mango something tea. It's alright. It's kind of tripping me up though. Anyway, Scum Villain saving system. Self-saving system. Shall we start? Shall we start? Shall we start? Okay. Okay, MXDX, let's go. Also, shout out to Felicity and Lily for the translation, and of course, Xiao Tong Kong. Okay, I only ever call them Xiao Tong, but their username is Velenci on Twitter and whatnot. The artist. That's the artist. My favorite artist. Literally, I can't believe my favorite artist did art for my favorite book. Are you kidding me? That's insane. Puppy is killing you? Deserved. Okay. Let's start. I will preface this with saying that the MXTX chapters are long as hell. This book only has 5 chapters. And the first chapter is like 50, 60 pages. So we're not going to be getting through the first chapter in this, I believe. But we're going to get to a good stopping point and then, yeah, hopefully. Let's see how far we get. All right, let's do this. Chapter 1, Scum. Proud Immortal Demon Way was a male power fantasy of a stallion novel. To be more specific, Proud Immortal Demon Way was a monster-fighting, escapist cultivation novel with an incomparably ridiculous length, a golden finger that broke every rule, and a harem size nearing three digits, seeing as every single female character fell for the protagonist. The year's hottest stallion novel. There was no other. The male lead of this novel, Lobinka, was neither the kind who started heroic and invincible, like a proud dragon of the heavens, nor the kind who was a loser, a good-for-nothing, without merit. Yet he managed to trend with tens of thousands of readers on Zhongjian literature, inspiring countless other male fantasy novels to follow in his footsteps. He was the kind of lead who was pitch black, dark, and vicious, though before his heart blackened, he was the kind who suffered misery after misery. Next, let a veteran reader of this novel, Shenyuan, omit the countless fan-servicey details and concisely summarize the million-word epic for everyone. Immediately after birth, Lobinka was abandoned by his parents, swaddled in white cloth, and put in a wooden basin that was lowered into the Luo River. This occurred on the coldest days of the year, and it was only thanks to fishermen pulling him out of the water that he didn't freeze to death as a baby. Because he had been drifting along the Luo in the season when it was choked with thin ice, he was given the name Luobinka. Lobinka spent his early years wandering the streets, hungry and cold, a dreary childhood. A washerwoman who worked for a wealthy family took pity on him, and since she had no children of her own, she adopted and raised him as her own. Mother and son were poor, and they suffered much humiliation at the hands of their rich patrons. Growing up in such an unhealthy environment became a foundation of Lobinka's future twisted personality post-darkening. His inclinations to fight over every scrap, seek revenge for the smallest grievance, and hide murderous intent behind a smile. I love him! Actually, rereading this will give me an idea of what is actually canon, what I deemed canon in my brain, but it's actually fanon. There's so much in my brain that I think is canon, but it's not. Okay. Once he withstood the beatings of a family's young masters for a bowl of lukewarm meat congee. In the end, he was still too late, and he failed to give his adopted mother even a single taste before she died. By complete coincidence, he was selected for training by one of the cultivation world's 4 great sects, Sangchong Mountain. There he apprenticed under the Shuya sword, Shen Qingqiu. Lobinka thought he could finally start down the righteous path. He couldn't have expected that Shen Qingqiu was fair without, but foul within. Trash of the lowest caliber. Shen Qingqiu was jealous of Lobinka's unparalleled and exceptional talent, and he secretly feared his disciple, whose cultivation improved by leaps and bounds every day. He always found new ways to taunt and demean Lobinka, even enlisting the boy's peers to belittle him. Throughout these years of studying, Lobinka endured every humiliation. It was another heart-wrenching arc in his story, filled with blood and tears. After much difficulty, Lobinka managed to turn 17, at which point he finally participated in the event the cultivation world held once every 4 years, the Immortal Alliance Conference. However, at the conference, Lobinka fell victim to Shen Qingqiu's scheming, and he tumbled into a crack in the boundary between the human and demon realms, the endless abyss. That's right, only then did the story truly begin. Not only did Lobinka survive, but within the endless abyss, he found his personal sword and peerless, mystical blade, Shinmo. He also learned the truth of his origins. As it turned out, Lobinka had been born to a demon realm's saintly ruler and a woman of the human realm. Within his veins flowed the blood of the ancient, heavenly fallen demons, as well as that of the human race. His birth father, Tianlangjun, had been sealed beneath a great mountain, trapped for all eternity. His birth mother had been a disciple from a righteous cultivation sect, but shortly following Tianlangjun's sealing, she had been expelled on suspicion of having secret ties to demons. She had died from a postpartum hemorrhage, after giving birth to Lobinka, but prior to her death, she had set her son adrift from the lonely ship she'd birthed him on. It was the only way she had been able to give Lobinka a chance to survive. Lobinka used Shinmo to release his body's seal on his demonic blood. Then, within the dark abyss, he single-mindedly cultivated and enlightened himself to otherworldly techniques before heading back to Sangchong Mountain Sect. From there on out, Lobinka steadily headed down his dark path, never looking back. Every single one of his old enemies suffered great torment and died a horrible death by his hand. With his steadily improving ability to lie and scheme, Lobinka won the trust of many people, feigning compliance when secretly plotting against them. He seized power and rose in position, beginning a reign of terror. As the story unfolded, Lobinka's heart blackened further and further. He returned to the demon realm and inherited the position of saintly ruler. Yet, unsatisfied, he began to eradicate each one of the human realm's great righteous sects, bathing them in blood, annihilating all who opposed him. Sects, not sex. Sounds the same, it's quite different. No, it tastes like bubblegum. Wait, no, it's not bubblegum. I think there might be spearmint in this, that's why. There might be spearmint. Anyway. In the end, Lobinka became a legend spoken of for generations, and immortals and demons, hailed for his unification of the three realms, the uncountable size of his harem, and his boundless number of descendants. Dumb fuck author, dumb fuck novel. With his dying breath, Shen Yuan spat this final curse. Who could have imagined that an upstanding young man like him, who had properly purchased the website's VIP currency and read the novel's official version, would find himself persevering before his untimely death to finish a novel so stallion, so money-grubbing, and overly padded, that it left him speechless with rage? How could he not curse? Proud Immortal Demon Way, by airplane shooting towards the sky. Just looking at that euphemistic handle smacked you in the face with a dirty feeling. Grade school level writing with landmines everywhere, breaking all suspension of disbelief. And Shen Yuan couldn't bear to call that incoherent mess of a world the author had built a cultivation setting. What kind of cultivation world had people using horses and carriages all day? What kind of cultivation world had people who, after achieving inedia, still needed to eat and sleep? What kind of cultivation world had an author who occasionally mixed up even the stages of foundation, enlightenment, and nascent soul? Not nascent soul. I don't know what that is. When faced with the protagonist, every single character acted like his total edgelord aura had devoured their intelligence, especially Lobinka's master, Shen Qingshou, that idiot among idiots, scum among scum. His only purpose was to dig his own grave, and he hadn't even managed to finish before he was killed by the protagonist instead. So why had Shen Yuan started this book, even going so far as to read it to the very end? Don't misunderstand, Shen Yuan didn't enjoy degrading himself. The reason he had persisted was also what had caused him the most frustration. This novel had an incredible amount of foreshadowing, plot lines everywhere, mystery after mystery, layer upon layer of red herrings, and at the very end, not a single one paid off. It was enough to make him want to puke a fountain of blood. Why were priceless herbs, spirit elixirs, and peerless beauties everywhere, like they didn't cost a cent? Why were the villains' speeches and poses as they dug their graves and got off all exactly the same? The dozens of maidens barely glimpsed, all of whom agreed to enter the harem. What happened to them? All right, skipping that last one for a moment, who had been the culprit behind the scores of atrocities? Exactly what was the purpose of the unending list of characters so hyped up for being awesome and without equal? Why did none of them make an appearance, even at the very end? Towards the sky bro, airplane bro, great master, quote unquote. Can we have a discussion? Fill in plot holes, okay? It's fill exclamation mark in exclamation mark plot holes exclamation mark okay question mark exclamation mark. God, I love this book. Shen Yuan felt like he could have come back to life with the power of sheer rage. In the endless darkness, a mechanical voice sounded by his ear. Activation code, dumbfuck author, dumbfuck novel. System automatically triggered. The tone reminded him of Google Translate. Who is this? Shen Yuan looked around. It seemed like he was floating in a virtual space, one so dark he couldn't see his hand before him. The voice came from all directions. Welcome to the system. The system operates in line with the design concept. You can, no BB. We hope to provide you with the best possible experience. By the way, that has a footnote. A common Chinese meme. It is a deliberately and entertainingly bad translation of the phrase, and then it's Chinese. Basically, if you're capable, then you do it. If you're not, then shut the fuck up. Stupid. Oh my god. It is our sincere wish that during your time you can fulfill your desires and, in accordance with your wishes, transform a stupid work into a magnificent, high-quality, first-rate classic. We hope you enjoy. In the midst of his ensuing vertigo, a man's voice asked lightly beside him, Shidi, can you hear me? Shen Yuan shuddered and settled his mind, forcibly peeling open his eyes. The scene that appeared before him was a massive, whirling flurry. It took a while for everything to finally coalesce and slowly become clear. He lay on a bed. I would just like to know, we don't know how this guy dies. It just says in his final moments, in his last words, he says, "Don't fuck author, don't fuck novel." We have no idea how he died. And I love that. I love that it's up to audience interpretation. It's my favorite thing. It actually brings up a whole lot of chronically disabled Shen Yuan. So, like in fanon, he is chronically disabled. Shen Yuan is. But I guess Shen Qingqiu is too in a while. Anyway. Looking up, a white gauzy canopy hung overhead, with finely crafted perfume pouches dangling from the four corners. Looking down, he wore a white robe of an ancient style. Next to the pillow lay a paper fan. Looking to his left, a handsome, elegant young man dressed in Xuanduan formal robe sat by his bedside, looking at him with concern. Shen Yuan closed his eyes, then sharply reached for that folding fan and opened it with a snap. He lightly waved it, fanning away the cold sweat pouring down his face. The man's eyes lit up with joy. "Shidi finally woke up," he said warmly. "Do you have any discomfort?" "Nothing too bad," Shen Yuan said with some reservation. The information overload was a bit much. He dazedly tried to sit up. As he did, the man quickly reached out to support his back, letting him lean against the headboard. Having read many of Zhang Dian's transmigration novels, Shen Yuan had long ago resolved that, if he one day woke up to find himself laying in a strange place, the first words out of his mouth before he understood what was happening definitely wouldn't be a carefree giggle and Are you filming a movie? The props look so real. Your crew is really giving it their all. I.e., the words of a person slow-wittedly trying to find their footing. He's already had this in his brain. He's like, if I get reincarnated, or if I get transmigrated, I'm not gonna be stupid. Oh, I love him. He's so me. Rather, Shen Yuan concentrated on acting like he'd just woken up, expression absent-minded. Where is this? The man startled. Did you sleep yourself into a trance? This is your Qing Jing Peak. Internally, Shen Yuan was shocked, but he continued to act muddled. Why was I asleep for so long? Eee! That is what I wanted to ask you. You were in perfectly good health, so how did you suddenly come down with a high fever? I know that with the Immortal Alliance conference approaching, you've been training your disciples and are anxious to see results. But the Sangchong Mountain sect... No, what the hell? But what? Oh my god, sorry. I'm distracted. I think it's funniest to imagine he hated the ending so much that he literally died. It's so real. Oh my god. Sorry, I'm not used to streaming on YouTube, and if I miss a comment or two, that is why. Anyway. But with Sangchong Mountain being such a well-established and renowned sect, even if one of our own didn't attend this time, no one would dare question us. Why concern yourself with empty words? Hang on, because I want to pull up the illustration that is on this part. I decided for this book, we're gonna have all the pictures. Can I just drag and drop it? I think I can. Yeah, baby! Here's the first illustration. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it so beautiful? Shen Qingzhou, and who is this? I don't know. We're gonna find out really soon. We're gonna find out really, really soon. I don't want to be in the way, but like, I want you to be able to see it, you know? I legit just downloaded all of the illustrations so I could share it on stream because they're so beautiful. All right, let's go. Let's continue. Huzzah, he's so pretty. I know. He's so pretty. Oh my god. What am I to do? Where was I? Yes. The more Shen Yuan listened, the more something felt off. Why did these lines sound so familiar? No, why did this setup seem so familiar? The man's next sentence, single and earnest, confirmed all his suspicions. Qingshuo Shidi, are you listening to Shishong? At this moment, something dinged, and the mechanical Google Translate-like voice from his dreamscape spoke again. The system was successfully activated. Bound roll, Luo Bingke's master, Sangchong Mountain Sect's peak lord of Qing Jing Peak, Shen Qingzhou. Weapon, the sword, Shu Ya. Starting, B points, 100. Fuck, what is this? What bullshit is this? How come you're speaking directly into my brain? Does airplane shooting toward the sky know you're plagiarizing proud immortal demon Wei's setting like this? You wouldn't be able to do anything about it anyway. Sorry, it's okay. Of course, Shen Yuan didn't say this out loud, but the voice swiftly responded. You have triggered the system's execution command and have been bound to the Shen Qingzhou account. As the plot progresses, various point types will gradually become available. Please ensure that no score falls below 0, or the system will automatically mete out punishment. Stop. Enough. Shen Yuan was sure now. He'd hit the jackpot. He'd transmigrated. Transmigrated into a story he'd just finished, moreover, even if it was a pitch-black stallion novel he'd hated, and even if it came with some kind of shitty system. As a 21st century veteran VIP reader of Zhongdian literature, Shen Yuan had read various types of do-over and transmigration male power fantasy novels year in and year out, so theoretically he could have happily and easily accepted this fact. But of all people, The shell he was borrowing just happened to belong to the male lead scum villain master Shen Qingqiu. This made the situation rather complicated. A little bit complicated. That's so stupid. That's so stupid. I forgot what Shen Yuan was like. Oh my god, I love him. I love canon Shen Yuan. He's so stupid. I mean, he's right, but he's also stupid. The amicable-looking elder brother type beside him was Sangchong Mountain Sect's current sect leader, Shen Qingqiu's Shishong, the Xuanzhu sword, Yue Qingyuan. Fuck. There was a very important reason Shen Yuan emphatically thought fuck at the sight of Shen Yuan. I would too, honestly. Sorry. In the original work, Shen Qingyuan's death. What am I saying? In the original work, Yue Qingyuan's death had been caused by his good shiri, Shen Qingqiu. Okay. And what a horrific death it was. Tens of thousands of arrows had pierced him until not even his bones remained. At this moment, the victim was facing his own murderer and showering him with concern. The pressure was immense. On second glance, though, the story hadn't yet unfolded to that point. Yue Qingyuan was still in perfect health, meaning that at this point in time, Shen Qingqiu had yet to reveal himself as a hypocrite, and his reputation was still pristine. Yue Qingyuan was a bleeding heart, nothing to be afraid of, though his character ended up suffering quite a bit during his... Oh, I blocked myself. Though his character ended up suffering quite a bit during his read, Shen Yuan had been rather fond of him. He was just about to relax when a string of words floated eerily to the forefront of his mind. Within the dark, gloomy room, a metal chain hung from a beam. At the end of the chain dangled a ring. The ring was fastened around a person's waist, if it could still be considered a person. This person's appearance was filthy and disheveled, like that of a madman. The most frightening thing about him was that all 4 of his limbs had been severed. His shoulders and thighs were only 4 bare knobs of flesh. When touched, he would let out a hoarse ah sound. His tongue had been torn out too, rendering him unable to form complete words. Proud Immortal Demon Wei, a selected passage on Shen Qingqiu's fate. Oh my god, hello! Oh, you're dual watching now, I see. Thanks for this sub. Appreciate it. Thanks, Cherry. Yeah, we love that. Introduction to Human Stick Shen Qingqiu. Just like that. You know what I love? I love that the text at this part is in like this, I don't know what font it is, but it's like that kind of old-timey font. Like written with a quill kind of font, you know what I mean? So dumb. Shen Qingqiu rested his forehead on his hand. He was in no position to lament the horrors of other people's death. The most horrific death was his own, okay? Henceforth, he had to avoid any critical errors. First, eliminate any mistake at the root. Second, from now on, cling madly to the male lead's thighs. Third, be a good mentor and helpful friend who is earnest and gentle in his teachings. Meticulously show the male lead every kind of concern. The moment Shen Qingqiu had these thoughts, a long string of alarms erupted in his mind. As if 100 police cars carrying 100 shrieking divine beasts were zooming past, it was so cacophonous that he shuddered, clutching his head in pain. Shitty, does your head still work? What? Work? Still hurt? Yue Qingyuan asked worriedly. No, it doesn't. Teeth clenched, Shen Qingqiu didn't answer. Warning, the system shrilly notified him. This proposed plan is incredibly dangerous and qualifies as a violation. Please do not attempt, or the system will automatically mete out punishment. How is that a violation? Currently, you are at the beginner level and the OOC feature is frozen. You must complete a beginner level quest to unfreeze it. Before unfreezing, any active violation of the original Shenshingcho character settings will result in a deduction of a fixed number of B points. As a semi-otaku, Shenshingcho had seen a number of fan work related terms here and there. You know what I mean. She is devious. What the fuck? Not the you know what I mean. So of course he knew the definition of OOC, adjective, acronym for out of character. Adjective? Is that what ADJ means? Okay. Defined as breaking character or acting in a way inconsistent with the character's canonical personality. MXTX. God, I missed you. I missed you so much. I missed you so much. In other words, before that whatever feature gets unfrozen, my behavior and actions can't differ from what Shenshingcho would do? Correct. This system had already let him migrate. Why can't I pronounce my R's today? Migrate. The system had already let him transmigrate into Shenshingcho's shell, replacing him, but it still cared about a detail like being OOC? You just said something about how the points can't fall below 0. If they do, what happens? You will automatically be deported back to your original world. Original world? But in Shen Yuan's original world, his body had already expired. In other words, if he lost all his B or whatever points, what awaited him was, in short, death. Well, if he just ignored the male lead and avoided doing anything, things would be fine, right? He raised his head and scanned the room, but among the disciples waiting on him by his bedside, he didn't see anyone that matched Lobinka's description. Feeling unconcerned, he said, "Where is Lobinka?" Feigning unconcern, he said, "Where is Lobinka?" Yer Qingyuan paused, giving him a strange look. Shenshingcho remained straight-faced, but was secretly filled with glee. Was it possible that the time wasn't ripe? That the male lead had yet to apprentice to Sanchang Mountain Sect? "Shidi, don't be angry," said Yer Qingyuan. An ominous premonition stirred in Shenshingcho's heart. Yer Qingyuan sighed. "I know you don't like him, but that child's already worked hard enough, and he hasn't made any significant mistakes. Don't punish him any further, all right?" Hearing this, Shenshingcho's lips felt dry. He wet them and said, "You can just say it. Where is he?" Yer Qingyuan was silent for a moment. Whenever you finish stringing him up and beating him, haven't you always shut him in the woodshed?" Shenshingcho's vision. I am so sorry. Shenshingcho's vision went dark. That's a scene break, and I think we'll take away this image for now. Because it's a scene break. Why did I have to? I tried to get that last sentence out before the sneeze. Oh my god, I don't know why, but my allergy pills are not working. Maybe it's because they suck. Don't stick your tongue out, whore. They are not working today. Anyway, we're going to continue a little more. I am going to have to take a break at 7 to feed the dogs. Hopefully we can find a good spot to pause. But then I'll come back. Alright. Oh my god, my nose. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. In his previous life, Shen Yuan had been well off growing up, and he'd basically qualified as a modest example of a second-generation rich kid. His 2 older brothers had been sent to inherit the family business, and he doted on his little sister. The entire family had been very close. Hang on. Is this stuff I didn't know about Shen Yuan? Is this... Well, I knew he was a little prissy bitch, but like I didn't know he had a sister. His two older brothers had been set to inherit the family business, and he told it on his little sister. Okay. That's cute. From early on, he'd known that even if he idled the rest of his life away, he'd never want for food. Perhaps due to this carefree upbringing, devoid of either competition or pressure, he came to believe that ranking in the top 10 of a competition was good enough, so long as it had more than 10 people. Pretty sure his sister wrote about men kissing. No, that's the other person's sister. I love her. I love her. We're talking about Shen Yuan's sister right now. But honestly, she probably would too, huh? I don't know anything about her, but she probably would too, huh? Therefore, he'd never understood what scum villains like Shen Qingqiu were thinking as they dug their own graves. The original Shen Qingqiu had both trained in cultivation and the qualifications to prove his experience, not to mention the self-restraint to put up a facade. He wanted for neither standing nor reputation, and with the support of the world's largest sect, he would never want for money either. I am sorry. So why did he have not even a speck of the poise expected of an immortal? Why did he act like one of those bitter courtyard complex concubines, which, oh my god, sorry, I'm dying. Something's wrong with me. It's very in character. I think it's pretty appropriate for me to die on this stream, I'm not gonna lie. Think I'll get transmigrated? Into this book? Who would I be? That's so weird. I don't like thinking about that. I would be cooked. I don't know. Oh my god, I'm scared. Oh my god, okay. As long as I'm not someone that dies immediately, you know? I don't know. Maybe I'd be okay with that too, though. Where was I? Why did he act like one of those bitter courtyard complex concubines with too much time on their hands? Footnote refers to the complicated courtyard compounds of rich families in old China. Generally, once a concubine enters a family, they can't leave this area, which can contribute to bitterness and a feeling of being trapped. Yes, classic. Classic. Ugh. Why was he so unable to tolerate the main character, no matter how innocuous his behavior? And why did he spend day in and day out scheming up new torments for him, even getting others to do so in his place? Even if Lo Bingke was blessed with heavenly talent, and even if his aptitude was exceptional to the point that he was more or less cheating, there was still no need to envy him to that extent, you know? Still, the blame didn't really lie with Shen Qingqiu, it lay with the author. These types of villains were everywhere in the novel, as numerous as carp in the river. It was just that Shen Qingqiu's character had been especially detailed and especially rotten. What could you do, though? The ultimate boss in this book was the protagonist himself. How could a firefly outshine the sun and the moon? I guess we'll find out. The cultivation world had dubbed Shen Qingqiu the Shu Ya sword, so naturally he had the appearance and bearing to match. Even now, glancing left and right into a blurry bronze mirror, Shen Qingqiu was quite satisfied with what he saw. Of course he is. It was a fine, featured face with pitch-black eyes and brows, thin nose and lips, and a most scholarly air. Combined with a slender body and long legs, he could more or less be considered beautiful. Though his real age was unclear, this was a cultivation novel. Shen Qingqiu had achieved mid-core formation. Shen Qingqiu had achieved. Shen Qingqiu. Oh my god. I can read, I promise. I'm just getting ahead of myself, and I'm too excited to read this fucking book. Okay. Shen Qingqiu had achieved mid-core formation, which meant he had perfectly preserved his youthful appearance. He was certainly many times better looking than Shen Yuan's headcanon for him. He still couldn't compare to Luo Binghe. Do we take a shot every time Shen Yuan is a little bit gay? Every time he's like, but it's Luo Binghe. But it's the protagonist, of course. I'd be dead. I don't know if I could do that. You'd be in the hospital. I know. I'd be in the hospital by the end of it. By the end of the chapter, not even by the end of the book or the series. The moment Shen Qingqiu thought of Luo Binghe, he was instantly struck with a pounding headache. He wanted to see Luo Binghe, who was currently shut in the woodshed, but as soon as he took a single step, that ear-pitching notification rang once more in his mind. My nose! Warning, OOC warning. Shen Qingqiu would not take the initiative to visit Luo Binghe. Fine, I'll get someone to bring him. No problem there, right? Shen Qingqiu snapped. He thought for a moment, then called. Ming Fan! A youth around 16 years old, tall and thin, promptly ran in through the door. This disciple is here. What instructions does Shifu have? Shen Qingqiu couldn't help but send a couple more glances his way. Ming Fan's appearance was respectable enough. It was just that his face was a bit unfortunate, with a sharp mouth and sunken cheeks. Internally, Shen Qingqiu tisked and lamented, as expected for classic cannon fodder. This was the most senior of the original Shen Qingqiu's disciples, Luo Binghe's Shishang, Ming Fan. This was also the legendary lowest level of cannon fodder. Needless to say, when it came to things like locking Luo Binghe out of the dorms late at night or feeding him false techniques on purpose, Ming Fan was the ever-present perpetrator. Whenever Shen Qingqiu felt inclined to torment Luo Binghe, Ming Fan was always the most useful assistant and most enthusiastic supporter. Knowing that this child's fate in the original work wasn't much better than his own, Shen Qingqiu couldn't help but look at him with the pitying gaze of a fellow victim. Go bring Binghe here. Ming Fan was plainly unnerved. Whenever Shen Qingqiu had called for Luo Binghe in the past, he'd always referred to him as that little beast, ungrateful brat, this wretch, or whelp. He'd hardly ever used Luo Binghe's full name more than a few times. Where had this sudden change come from? He's already being OOC. I'm back, one back. WB. I can't figure out what it is. It tastes like some kind of... Sorry, I'm talking about my tea again, but it tastes like those little like, I don't even know what they are. Oh my god. I just know that they're shaped, it's like gum, but they're shaped in a rectangle, but like a very small rectangle. Oh, I don't know what it is. And it's flat. It's not like a chiclet or anything. It's like flat. It's gum Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Wags finger disappointedly at him. But Ming Fan didn't dare question a command from his Shifu. He jogged to the woodshed right away and kicked the door twice. Get out! Shizun is calling for you! Shen Qingqiu paced within his room, exhaustingly examining the system within his mind. B points, also known as points awarded for being a badass. The more B points one accrues, the more magnificent, high quality, and first-rate the work has become. Then how can I raise my B points? 1. Change the nonsensical plot and raise the average IQ of the villains and supporting characters. 2. Avoid landmines that break suspension of disbelief. 3. Ensure the main character's satisfaction points. 4. Discover and finish hidden plot events. Shen Qingzhou analyzed each option one by one. In short, not only did he have to clean up the original Shen Qingzhou's messes, the Shen Qingzhou, who'd had a veritable mob of enemies coming for his ass, he also had to stop other characters from creating more messes. He didn't even know if he could preserve his own sorry life, and here he still needs to ensure that the main character preserved his OP-ness. 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 Time in the spotlight, and harem size. All those unsolved mysteries, all those plot holes the author had neglected to fill, and now Shen Qingzhou had to grab a shovel and sweat away, filling them in himself. Great Master, airplane shooting towards the sky, had claimed that Proud Immortal Demon Way's purpose was perfectly clear, and that each word had been written with a single goal in mind, to satisfy the reader. This was especially evident in how, in the future, the OP male lead would play innocent, a wolf in sheep's clothing, hunting other wolves, exacting revenge against lowlives, generating enough satisfaction to overturn the heavens. Thus, the work's popularity had swelled rapidly as it grew longer and longer until no foot-binding cloth could compare to its length. Keeping track of the plot had been stressful enough as a reader. Insane landmines were everywhere. How could he manage to avoid all of them? What kind of plot would qualify as not non-sex? Oh, I can read, I swear. I can read, I swear. What kind of plot would qualify as not nonsensical? Shen Qingzhou asked. Don't pick. The standard is subjectively determined. It depends on the reader's reactions. Then how many points do I need to collect to launch a beginner-level quest? The timing is situationally determined. When the requirements have been met, the system will automatically notify you. Subjectively determined, situationally determined. What an all-purpose remedy. Shen Qingzhou scoffed. Then upon hearing the door open, he looked back to see a youth slowly walk in. Shizun, the youth spoke respectfully, even though his movements were unsteady, and he managed to stand perfectly straight. The small smile that had been forming at the corner of Shen Qingzhou's mouth froze. He was definitely dead. Before him was the face that would, in the future, infatuate everyone who saw it, from 8-year-old woman to infants, from 80-year-old woman to infants still in their swaddling clothes. The Gary Stu protagonist's face. And he'd beaten it to this extent. He was dead. But even though this face bore clear evidence of abuse and was covered in injuries, the protagonist was, as expected, still the protagonist. Lo Binghe's 2 eyes were as bright as morning stars, a tender shoot of a handsome man. That firm yet humble countenance demonstrating his noble and unyielding spirit, that pencil-straight back and stance evincing all proud core that would rather break than bend. I'm here to give you visuals. There he is! There he is, my little bingo! My little bingo! He's bigger! And then this Ming fan in the back. I love him! I love them. I love them! Although he's not really standing straight in this, but that's okay. In that instant, a flood of parallelisms and other stylistic devices flooded through Shen Qingzhou's heart. Passage after passage, jumbled together in countless stanzas of praise that almost spilled forth out of his mouth. Luckily, Shen Qingzhou managed to rein it in, albeit while internally yelling about how close he'd come. The underlying hardware of this protagonist's halo of excellence was really too much. He almost couldn't hold back. White Lotus because so cute. My Shayla. There is my Shayla. My Shayla. Oh, he's so precious. He reminds me of my dog. No joke. That's my dog. Because he's so sad. Oh my god. Shenxing Shou's mouth. Sorry, I'm biting at my lip. And trying to read at the same time. Not a good combination. And by biting at my lip, I mean like peeling off my lip skin. You know, you get it. You get it. Shen Qingzhou's mouth twitched as he watched Lo Bingke limp through the door, then struggle to kneel. I can't afford your submissions. If you pay respects to me today, you are definitely going to kneecap me in the future. No need. Shen Qingzhou stopped Lo Bingke, and with a flick of his wrist, he tossed over a small bottle. This is medicine. He paused before adding in a mocking tone. Don't let anyone see. They might think my Qingjing Peak abuses its disciples. Shen Qingzhou had assumed his role quickly. Even though he'd done something daringly subversive by handing over medicine, he had also done it with a nasty attitude. Therefore, it was passably in line with Shen Qingzhou's hypocritical nature, his tendency to do evil while he simultaneously feared others finding out. Indeed, the system didn't send an OOC notification. Shen Qingzhou let out a sigh of relief. Lo Bingke had expected that his master had called him for further, quote-unquote, instruction. He would never have thought he would be offered medicine. At first he froze, then he respectively received the small bottle with both hands and said, with honest gratitude, Thank you for the medicine, Shizun. At this point in time, Lo Bingke's face was still full of innocence, his smile sincere and gentle like the warm, dawning sun. Shen Qingzhou stared at it for a while, then turned his head away. Prior to his darkening, this male lead's personality was that of a model, an upright youth. Shine a bit of sunlight on him and he'd glow. Give him a scrap of goodwill and he'd return it tenfold. That type. It would not have been an exaggeration to call him a little lamb. Little lamb! There he is, a little lamb! I'll cry. I'll cry! I'll cry! That's a threat. I'll cry. This disciple will henceforth redouble his efforts and not let Shizun be disappointed, Lo Bingke happily continued. No, if we redouble your efforts, I'm guessing your original master would really be disappointed. Shen Qingzhou hadn't read Proud Immortal Demon Way. If Shen Qingzhou hadn't read Proud Immortal Demon Way, he would have found the sight of this scene heart-wrenching, and he probably would have shed a couple of sympathetic tears for Lo Bingke's plight. You're gay? He's just a little lamb! What's gay about that? He's just a little guy. I want to protect him. I want to protect him. But it's okay. He'll be okay. He'll be okay. Eventually. As it was, he had seen everything from beginning to end from an omniscient perspective, so he had been privy to Lo Bingke's plentiful and colorful thoughts post-blackening. To wit, Lo Bingke's current pitifulness directly correlated to the future ferocity of his wanton laughter as he ground his foot into your head. Though he would wear a mask of a kind and humble gentleman, inside all his thoughts would be about how he'd rip out your tendons, pull out your bones, peel off your skin, and hang it out to dry. And then there's a passage. Lo Bingke smiled. Today, the humiliation this disciple once suffered will be returned 100-fold. For injuring my hands and feet, I'll tear off your limbs and grind them to dust. Proud Immortal Demon Way. Selected passage number 2. That's stupid. After that, he had in actual fact carved Shen Qingzhou into a human stick. Bingke, how's your cultivation progress? Shen Qingzhou asked, in a deliberately aloof tone as he moved to sit in a sandalwood chair. With that single Bingke, he terrified himself to the point that frightened goosebumps rose all down his back. PIDW. Vinka is so scary. he's he's just a little silly sometimes. He's just a little silly sometimes. Oh no. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, ad starting is 2 minutes. No, snooze for now. Hang on. Snooze for now because there's a break in the next page. So we'll get to that and then we'll take a break. Lobinka's back also shook with a clear shudder, but he still managed a smile tinged with shyness. This disciple is stupid and still failed to understand. That was about right. With a fake cultivation manual, the fact that he hadn't yet suffered a chi deviation was all thanks to his incredible protagonist-level durability. If he had actually understood anything in that manual, it would have been a miracle. Boy, come hang out with me, Shen Qingzhou yelled within his heart. This master will deliver unto you the correct techniques. That demonic system's warning notification started blaring incessantly. I was only thinking it, Shen Qingzhou said to the system. Of course I know it would be a violation. Out loud he spoke casually. Today this master punished you out of his own impatience. After all, time waits for no one. Now that I think about it, you've been under me for a while. How old are you this year? This disciple is 14, Lobinka obediently replied. 14, huh? That meant, at this point, this master and this disciple, Shen Qingzhou and Lobinka, had already passed the incident at the mountain entrance. There, the latter had been forced to kneel as punishment. It meant that they had also passed the incident where Lobinka's fellow Qingjing Peak disciples had pummeled him en masse, as well as the incident where he'd backtalked Shizun and been strung up and beaten. Backtalked is in quotations. In addition to the incident where he'd ruined the peak's talismans and been punished with hard labor. Such a glorious track record. In parentheses, Shen Qingzhou waved goodbye to his last hope of survival. Stupid. Shen Qingzhou rested his forehead on one hand and waved Lobinka away with the others. I wish to be alone. And that is a scene break. And that is where we will break. Take a little break. I will go get a proper bookmark for this. But yeah, I will be right back. I'm going to go feed the dogs. Going to go feed my doggos. I'm actually going to put these two in a folder. Put in a folder. Put in a Hello, how do I put it in a folder? Hello, how do I put it in a folder? Oh, group. SVSSS illusts. Okay. So that's where they belong. Okay. I will see you in a bit. BRB. Have a fun ad. Alright, I'm back. I have a little bit more, tea. My dog has been chilling with me this whole time. He's so cute. Oh, he's so cute. He's so cute and a baby, but he's actually not a baby. But he is a baby. He's a perpetual baby. Yippee, yippee, yippee. Alright. I didn't get a bookmark, but that's okay. I forgot about that. I forgot. Hey everyone, did you have a good break? I'm just gonna stretch a little bit more. Because my back has been hurting recently. Actually, you know what? My hip was really fucked up like last week. For a couple of days. And then yesterday it started hurting again. But it's like, I can't pinpoint the kind of pain that it is, because it's like a it's like a pulsing pain, like it comes and goes, but it's gone now. I don't even know why it starts. A curse, yeah, probably. But yeah, I'm fine today though, so I don't know. I thought it was from sitting in my chair for a long time, but I didn't even do that much yesterday. Okay. Whatever. Where were we? Yes. We are on page 31 on chapter 1. If any of y'all want to follow along the journey. I have no idea how much we're gonna continue. Let me see if there's a good stopping point in like the next 10 or 12 pages. Not really. We might have to read 20 pages. We might have to read 20 pages. That was okay. We'll probably get through it. And then after that, it's almost the end of the chapter. I don't know. We might finish the chapter. We'll see, I guess. We'll see. Anyway, page 31. Shen Qingqiu was an easygoing person. Since his residential address had already changed to Proud Immortal Demon Way, and since he'd already kicked the bucket in his original form, he figured he might as well try making it work here. He'd arrived in a cultivation setting, received a body with decent martial ability and swordsmanship for free, and was also part of a famous righteous sect. If he wanted to stand out, he could stand out, and if he wanted to lie low, he could hole up on Sangchang Mountain Sect's Qingjing Peak and be a recluse. What was there to complain about? Just read all of it since it's your favorite reel. Read all in one go. That does not taste good anymore. Okay. The only slightly difficult thing would be finding a girlfriend. In this sort of male power fantasy stallion novel, any woman inevitably belonged to the male lead, as long as she wasn't ugly. Everyone knew this. This is so big. It really is. Every sentence, I'm just like, oh my god. Oh, this is stupid. Still, Shen Qingqiu was a man of few needs. He would have been satisfied just idling away to a ripe old age. In that way, it wouldn't be that different from how his previous life had been going. Hey man, that's not really allosexual straight person. That's not something that kind of person would say. That is not something that an allosexual straight man would say. I hate him! Oh my god. However, while Luo Binghe was a factor, making a name for himself was right out. If Shen Qingqiu remained anywhere near the original work setting, even if he found some non-existent paradise to seclude himself in, once Luo Binghe took power, he'd still be able to carve Shen Qingqiu into a human stick. It's not that I don't want to cling to the male lead's thighs, but who made him so damn black-hearted? He's the type who seeks thousandfold retribution. Shen Yuan is so dumb in a good way, yeah, and a bad way, but that's what he is. That's just how he is. After his daily cursing at quote-unquote great master After his daily curse, okay, if I ever say the phrase Great Master Airplane shooting toward the sky or whatnot, the Great Master is always in quotations because this guy hates him. So, you know, that out of the way. I don't have to keep saying quote unquote. After his daily cursing at Great Master Airplane, Shen Qingqiu quickly set some goals. In short, familiarizing himself with his environment, work with the system as much as possible, diligently pursue more accomplishments, earn B points, and unfreeze the OOC function as soon as possible. If the situation started looking grim, he'd have to seek out an alternative strategy. Sang Chong's 12 peaks were like 12 giant swords forged by nature, steep and magnificent, piercing the skies. What happened? Airplane is an actual great master in my heart. Me too! I love him so much. I mean, what? Why would I even know this guy in this book? That'd be weird, because that's the author of the original. What? I love him so much. He's literally my profile picture in my fucking fan art account. I literally only ever draw Moshang art. I can't help myself. I've drawn it so many times. I love him. I love him. I love him. He's my guy. Where was I? Hamhua. I literally have this hamster gotcha because it reminded me of him. God. Where was I? Sang Chong's 12 peaks were okay, yeah, we already read that. Shen Qingqiu's Qingjing Peak wasn't the tallest, but it was the most tranquil, heavily forested with tall bamboo. I need to be taken out and shot. With tall bamboo. Goodness gracious. On top of that, as basically all of Shen Qingqiu's disciples needed to learn the 4 scholarly arts of guqin playing, go, calligraphy, and painting. From time to time, the clear sounds of reading and the murmur of the guqin would drift on the breeze. It was an excellent destination for scholarly youths steeped in ancient arts and literature and perfectly aligned with the needs of the original Shen Qingqiu. That poser. As Shen Qingqiu passed a group of disciples, they respectfully asked after his health. He schooled his countenance to match the original's cold, aloof look, nodding slightly while walking with his hands clasped behind his back. He managed to get by with this, troubled only over how he was supposed to make the book's names to these supposed to match the book's names to these wavering faces. This wasn't Shen Qingqiu's most pressing concern, however. That was self-defense, and for that he needed to figure out how to employ the original flavor's martial ability and swordsmanship. If he remembered correctly, before Lobing had darkened, Sangcheng Mountain Sect suffered a succession of significant incidents. Goodness gracious. Things like demonic incursions and the Immortal Alliance Conference. Shen Qingqiu would have to deal with all of them. If all he had to work with was a shell with no cultivation ability, forget following the plot. The male lead wouldn't have to lift a finger before an insignificant, no-game monster got him killed. Shen Qingqiu walked deep into the forest, alone. Only after confirming no one else was in sight did he remove the sword at his waist. He held the scabbard in his left hand and the hilt in his right, and he slowly pulled it out. Xu Ya had been with Shen Qingqiu since he was young and newly known, and it could have been considered prestigious unto itself. The flash of its blade was snow white, luminous but not blinding. Definitely a top-class armament. Armament. That's a word. When one channeled spiritual energy into a weapon, the blade glowed faintly. As Shen Qingqiu pondered exactly how to channel spiritual energy, the sword in his hand began to shimmer white. It seemed like he'd inherited the original's cultivation and martial abilities as well. His mind had filled in the gaps without him needing to consciously remember. Wanting to see Shuya's power, Shen Qingqiu casually slashed once. Who knew a single slash would be so terrifying? The sword's arc dazzled like a flash of lightning released from his palm, so bright that even UV 400 sunglasses wouldn't have saved him if he hadn't closed his eyes. When he opened them, he beheld a deep ditch that had been carved into the ground, as if it had been split by lightning. Holy shit! Shen Qingqiu remained expressionless, but his heart surged with exhilaration. So damn awesome! Power worthy of a character who was a peak soul master. With this level of cultivation, if he diligently trained for the next 20 years, then maybe in the future, as a last resort, if he absolutely had to face that overpowered Lobinka, he might just be able to flee in disgrace. You know what else could— Shut up! Shut up! Oh no. He wanted to practice more, but he had heard the sound of subtle footsteps snapping dry twigs. Yes, exactly. My dog just got up and did footsteps. Very good timing. Oh my god, he's so cute. In truth, the sound was still a long way off, but his 5 senses were highly sensitive, and it would have been difficult not to notice. Shen Qingqiu studied that deep ditch in the ground, then sheathed his sword with a clink before hiding himself within the greenery. Excuse me, would you like to leave? Okay, he wants to go out. 1 second. Give me 1 second. While I precariously get out of this big ass chair. I'm using my sister's desk chair because it's a lot more ergonomic. Because it's a lot more ergonomic, but it's bulky as hell. It's huge. I'm just using it for now because of my hip issues. Because I have hip issues. Okay. Why did I pause like that? That's embarrassing. Okay. Where was I? Where was I? Yes. The footsteps came closer and closer. There was more than one person. As expected, a moment later, the first face to appear was Lo Binka's, seeming to shine in its own light. The first sound, however, was the crisp, delicate voice of a young maiden. Allo, look! There's a huge ditch in the ground here! Upon hearing this nickname, Shen Qingqiu almost staggered from his hiding place. Shen Qingqiu's youngest female disciple, Ning Yingying, the system said concisely. What use was that introduction? Shen Qingqiu hissed. Everyone knows that only one person addresses Lo Binka that way. Everyone knows. The pretty girl following Lo Binka came into view as well. She looked slightly younger than Lo Binka, lovely and adorable, her braided hair bound with orange ribbons as she ran and skipped, brimming with naivety. Every proper cultivation novel had to have a charming young Shimei type. This young Shimei inspired some complicated feelings in Shen Qingqiu. This was because he had designs on Ning Yingying. No, more like the original Shen Qingqiu had designs on Ning Yingying. Designs? Shen Qingqiu's character setting was stuck on shady hypocrite. Since on the surface he looked pure-hearted, free of desire, and immune to wicked temptations, then beneath the surface he had to be immoral, shameless, scummy, and despicable. He was a teacher, but he harbored filthy intentions toward his obedient and cheerful disciple. He tried to carry them out several times in the story, and he very nearly succeeded. One can, however, imagine the result of daring to try to get a taste of the male lead's woman. While reading, Shen Qingzhou had thought it a little strange that Lo Bingge hadn't tried to castrate the creep. His failure to do so absolutely didn't jive with Binge's dark charm. So, he'd gone to the comment section and joined the mob in flooding it with posts to the tune of, "Please castrate Shen Qingzhou. No castration, we unsubscribe." Me about Jinshi. Apothecary Diaries. Why isn't that man castrated? Upon reflection and closer consideration, Shen Qingzhou was profoundly terrified. If the appeal had succeeded, then he'd absolutely have had to chop off the hand with which he made those posts. Lo Bingge glanced over once and offered only a half-hearted smile, but Ning Yingying wanted his attention, and she fumbled around for something to say. "Tell me, Alo, which Xishang was practicing their sword glares out here?" "On Qingjing Peak, I'm afraid only Shizun has this level of cultivation," Lo Binghe answered, as he picked up an axe and started chopping at a tree. He only spoke one line, then paid her no more heed. His focus was entirely on his own actions, as he raised and lowered the axe, chopping in earnest. Wait, should we bring up Ning Yingying's... I want to bring up, her little, her reference. It's her! She's so cute! Look at her! Oh, baby! Oh, she's so cute! She's so cute! I love her! She's so precious. She's so precious. That's her! That's the baby! My cutie pie! She's really so precious! We're gonna bring up Ming Fan's as well. There he is. In all his glory. He's like I think the perfect way to describe him is doofus, but he's also really precious as well. And I love him, and you'll understand why we love him. You'll understand. I can't keep them both here. Just have a good look at them and I'll take them off in a second, but yeah, that's what they look like. Also, this is Lo Binghe. Where is he? Where's Binghe? Lotus, White Lotus, Lo Binghe. Look how tiny he is. Look, he's shorter than Ning Yingying. He's shorter than all of them. I'm gonna cover up my whole face with these guys. He's tiny. Oh, I love them. I love them so much. I love all of Scum's characters most of the time. There are some that I do not like. But these three, I love them. I love them. I love them. Okay. Stop covering me, please. Okay, go in the folder. Good. We're good. Okay. Falling to my knees. Why are they so cute? I know. I love that the artist did these, because they don't do this for other series. They I think they just did this on their own accord. I'm not gonna lie. I think they just did this because this is their favorite book, or like one of their favorite books, and they just did these character sheets just because. I think so. I don't know for a fact, but that seems on brand with them. Not gonna lie. Okay. Where was I? Did I just turn the page? Yeah, I did, okay. These trees were neither thin nor weak, and the axe was half rusted. At this time, Lo Binghe was only 14 years old, so chopping was tremendously taxing. Soon, sweat poured down his face. Ning Yingying sat on an old log, watching him with her face propped in her hands. After a while, she was bored again, and wheedled, Allo, play with me. I can't. Lo Binghe didn't even have time to wipe away his sweat. He continued to swing the axe as he spoke. Shishong told me that after I finish chopping today's wood, I also have to carry the water. If I finish chopping quickly, I can clear out some time to meditate. Our Shishong are really awful, always making you do this and that. It looks to me like they're bullying you on purpose. Ning Ying pouted. I'll go and tell Shizun. Once I do, they won't dare bully you anymore. Until this point, Shen Qingzhou had been treated had been treating his experience until this point. Shen Qingzhou had been treating this experience like he was at a shoot for a scene of a Proud Immortal Demon Way drama, just passing through and enjoying a tale of two childhood sweethearts. Upon hearing this, he paled in shock. No, you absolutely can't come tell me. What am I supposed to do? I can't be OOC. Who exactly should I punish? But at this time, even while the young Lo Binghe was experiencing the full depth and breadth of humanity's hardships, he still had the pure heart of a white lotus. He shook his head at Ning Yingying. Absolutely don't. I don't want to trouble Shizun with these small matters. Our Shishong don't mean any harm. They just see that I'm young and want to give me more chances to train. In that instant, Shen Qingzhou could almost see 10,000 rays of light behind Lo Binghe. He couldn't help but back up 3 steps, unable to look directly at the male lead who had achieved such a transcendent state of being, who'd attained such profound enlightenment. While Ning Yingying chattered, Lo Binghe finished chopping his quota of wood. Putting the axe away, he found a random patch of relatively clean ground and sat down, cross-legged, with eyes closed. Oof. Inside his heart, Shen Qingzhou released a long sigh. In truth, even during the early misery-ridden part of the storyline, the protagonist's overpowered nature had already started to emerge. The cultivation manual Mingfan had given Lo Binghe was a fake. The more he trained by following it, the more his techniques should have degraded until they were absolute rubbish. But with his peerless talent and his body's half-demon blood, Lo Binghe had managed to eke out a path of his own by complete accident. It was entirely unscientific. While Shen Qingzhou sighed, there came the sound of another set of jumbled footsteps. As soon as he heard them, Shen Qingzhou knew that what was coming wasn't good. Ming Fan stepped out into the clearing, leading several low-ranked disciples. Upon seeing Ning Yingying, he delightedly strode up and grabbed her hand. Xiao Shimei, I finally found you. How could you come to a place like this without saying anything? The backside of the mountain is so large. What if some dangerous beast or poisonous snake leapt out? Come, Shishong has something fun to show you. Naturally, Mingfan saw Lo Binghe silently sitting nearby, but he ignored the other boy as if he were nothing but air. However, Lo Binghe, being very well-mannered, opened his eyes and spoke. Shishong, I'm not afraid of poisonous snakes or dangerous beasts, Ning Yingying giggled. Besides, isn't Aldo with me? Mingfan swept a gaze toward Lo Binghe, squinted, and scoffed. To Shen Qingzhou, Mingfan's thoughts couldn't have been clearer. He heard the affectionate way Ning Yingying addressed Lo Binghe, and in that moment, his annoying Shidi had become even more irritating. In the end, Ning Yingying had a young girl's disposition, completely unable to take a hint or read the room. What fun things does Shishong have? She asked, head tilted. Hurry up and show me. Mingfan became all smiles. He unfastened a deep green jade ornament from his waist and held it in front of her. Shimei, my family just came to visit, and they brought me lots of high-quality and interesting little trinkets. I thought this one was particularly pretty. I'll give it to you. Ning Yingying took it from him and examined it closely in the sunlight, shining through the leaves. Well, do you like it? Mingfan asked eagerly. From his hiding place, Shen Qingzhou finally remembered. This was that scene! No good. He shouldn't have come. Danger! He couldn't be blamed for not remembering clearly. How could somebody who'd cursed dumbfuck author, dumbfuck novel, remember ancient content from the beginning of a serialized novel that had been running for 4 years and covered an in-narrative span of 200 years? He'd spent 20 days binging the novel from start to finish, so he had clean forgotten that wump-filled arc of pointless abuse that covered Lo Binghe's beginnings at the sect, okay? My god. The amount of fandom lingo in this book is almost upsetting. But at the same time, I love it. I love it so much. Love it. Love it. Ning Ying had absolutely no idea what was high quality and what wasn't. After looking nonchalantly at it for a while, she tossed the jade ornament back. Ming Fan's smile froze on his face. What? Oh, okay. What? This color is so ugly. The one Alo has is prettier, Ning Ying said carelessly as she wrinkled her nose. Not only did Ming Fan look unhappy, but Lo Bingke, who'd been wisely pretending to not exist, trembled slightly as his eyes snapped open. Does Shidi also wear this kind of thing? Ming Fan spat out through gritted teeth. Lo Bingke hesitated slightly. He hadn't managed to answer when Ning Ying, her name is so hard to say in my mouth. in my face, her name is so hard to say. When Ning Ying barged in. Of course he does. Every day he wears it close around his neck. It's his treasure. He refuses to even let me look at it. Although Lo Bingke was usually so composed, at this point his expression also changed. He unconsciously clutched the goddess of mercy Guanyin pendant around his neck, hidden beneath his clothes. Your IQ and EQ, young lady. The male lead is taking all the collateral damage. Ning Ying absolutely hadn't considered the consequences of these words as she said them. She'd only been thinking of how she always saw Lo Bingke wearing that jade guanyin close to his skin, never parting with it. Girls in particular, invariably wanted to get their hands on the things their crushes treasured, which they hoped would confer upon them the satisfaction of being in that special position. But Lo Bingke simply refused to give her that recognition. Displeased, she'd brought it up in this half-sweet, half-brazen manner. Of course he'd refused, okay? Lo Bingke's washerwoman mother had spent almost her entire life savings to finally, with great difficulty, give her son the consecrated protective charm she wanted for him. It was the only bit of warmth in Lo Bingke's dark world, always beside him, and even in the future when he was at his darkest, it could summon up his last dregs of humanity. So how could he randomly hand it out to anyone else? Ming Fan, both angry and jealous, advanced his steps. Lo Shidi, you sure are stuck up, refusing to show Ning Ying Shimei your pendant, he snarled. If this keeps up, when we face strong enemies in the future, will you refuse to even lend a hand? Young man, there's definitely a logical gap between your first and second lines. It's fine if he doesn't want to, Xizhang, don't bully him. Ning Ying hadn't thought things would turn out like this, and she anxiously stamped her feet. Oh, my nose is itchy again. It's itchy. My nose. Okay, I'm fine, though. I'm fine. Where was I? How could Lo Bingke best Ming Fan at this point? Not only mention a group of junior disciples, not to mention a group of junior disciples who were Ming Fan's lackeys, were also ganging up on him. In a moment, that jade guanyin fell from Lo Bingke's neck into Ming Fan's hands. Ming Fan raised it up for a look, then suddenly laughed loudly. What? Why are you laughing? Ning Ying said, confused. I thought it had to be some rare treasure for him to protect it so fiercely. Shimei, guess what it is? Ming Fan tossed the jade pendant into Ning Ying's hands, positively gleeful as he chuckled. It's a counterfeit! Counterfeit? Ning Ying asked. What's that? Give it back. Lo Bingke I can't enunciate. Lo Bingke enunciated each word. His fists slowly clenched, a treacherous undercurrent surging in the depths of his eyes. Shen Qingzhou's fingers involuntarily twitched once, then again, and again. Naturally, he remembered that the jade guanyin was a counterfeit. He also knew that it was Lo Binka's biggest berserk button. For an entire year, the washerwoman had scrimped and saved on food and utilities, but because she lacked experience, a con man had tricked her into paying a high price for a fake charm. Heartbroken after this, her body had steadily deteriorated. Lo Binka would undoubtedly be unable to forget this pain for the rest of his life. Thus, this was the one insult that Lo Binka could never tolerate. As a bystander, Shen Qingzhou desperately wanted to reach out, beat up Ming Fan, snatch back the jade pendant, and toss it to Luo Binke. Also, if he did that, maybe Ming Fan wouldn't thoroughly offend Luo Binke. Then, later on, he could keep this paltry little life. OOC. Thank you, shut up. Just a simple thank you, shut up. Oh, I love him so much. You want it back? I'll give it back. Who knows which street stall this cheap thing was purchased from? Ming Fan plucked the pendant from Ning Ying's hands, disgust in his tone. I'm afraid giving it to Shimei would dirty her hands. So he said, but he had not the slightest intention of returning it. Luo Binke's face was tight. Suddenly, he struck out with both fists, hitting the couple of low-ranked disciples restraining him. Enraged as he was, his blows were not directed by technique. They were random strikes fueled by the anger within. At first, he managed to cow these low-ranked disciples, but they quickly realized that he was in truth incredibly weak and that only his demeanor was impressive. Also, Ming Fan was snarling at them. What are you standing there for? He dared to attack his Xishang. Teach him what it means to respect seniority. At this, they all regained their courage and surrounded Luo Binke, clobbering him. Ning Ying was scared stiff, her pitiful brain capacity still not understanding how things had progressed to this state. Xishang, she cried. How could you do this? Hurry up and tell them to stop, or I'll never talk to you again. Shimei, don't be angry, Ming Fan spoke in a panic. I'll tell them to stop hitting that guy, this guy, okay? He was distracted. Before he finished speaking, Luo Binke broke free from the many arms and legs entangling him and sent a fist into Ming Fan's nose. Very much deserved. A wild wail. 2 twin streams of fresh blood jetted from Ming Fan's nostrils. Cooking bigger. Although she had been about to burst into tears at the sight of this, Ning Ying couldn't help but let out a stifled laugh. Sister, really, do you like Binke or do you want to screw him over? Shen Qingzhou howled in his mind. Before this point, Ming Fan might feasibly have let Luo Binke go, but now that he'd been humiliated in front of his crush, he couldn't back down, no matter what. The two boys twisted into a fighting heap, but no matter how exceptional Luo Binke's talent, he was still young, and he hadn't been cultivating with proper instruction. It was, for the most part, a one-sided beatdown. Yet Luo Binke remained silent, teeth clenched. Shen Qingzhou wanted desperately to intervene, but the system exploded with a terrifying cascade of alarms. Severe OOC, severe OOC, severe OOC. Important things must be repeated 3 times. In this situation, Shen Qingzhou would choose to smile. He would watch from the sidelines, hands in his sleeves, or personally beat Luo Binke himself. Was it really going to make him look on while a child was being abused? This was really too much. Even so, Shen Qingzhou couldn't afford to take risks. While he was anxiously fretting, a compromise suddenly came to him. Sangchong Mountain Sect had a minor technique. Plucking leaves, flying flowers. At a glance, it wasn't very useful, just aesthetic and interesting. The novel had described how Luo Binke used the technique to win the nth woman's affections. As Shen Qingzhou had, Since his arrival, been furiously reviewing various manuals, he had also recently seen a description of it. Banana just cause real. Real. Real and true. So true, so true. I almost died again. I'm fine. I'm fine. I didn't almost choke on that. What does this tea taste like? I'm so confused. It's such a weird flavor. Okay. He plucked a nearby leaf and channeled a touch of spiritual power into it. The first time, he channeled too much. The leaf couldn't withstand his power and instantly split into several pieces. He succeeded the second time, held the leaf between his fingertips and gently blew, letting go. The leaf shot toward Mingfan like an airborne knife. As Mingfan's long and horrible scream split the air, Shan Qingqiu shook out his hand and wiped a bead of sweat from his forehead. No wonder they said that to an expert. Even a flower or tree could be used to hurt people. But he hadn't killed Mingfan just now, right? Right? Luo Bingke had suffered quite a few punches and kicks, but suddenly it was Mingfan who staggered backwards. Luo Bingke looked up. Fresh blood dripped from his forehead past his eyes, but he hadn't expected to see Mingfan stretching out his own hand, his palm also covered in blood. Mingfan stared into disbelief. You dare use a knife? Due to his fierceness, Ning Ying hadn't risked coming close to their fight, but now she hurried to throw herself between the two. No, our lord doesn't use a knife. It wasn't him. Luo Bingke also had no idea what had happened. He closed his mouth tightly and tried to clean the blood from his face. Did you see clearly? Was he holding a knife? Mingfan interrogated the other disciples as blood seeped out of his back, like he'd been cut with the edge of a sword. The disciples looked around at each other in complete disarray, some shaking their heads, some nodding. Mingfan was a spoiled and pampered young master, and he had never suffered this level of physical pain. The sight of his own hand covered with blood sent panic surging through his heart. The puzzling thing was that there was no evidence of a weapon either on the ground or on Luo Bingke's slender person. It couldn't have vanished into thin air, right? Shan Qingqiu held his breath. His vision suddenly flashed red, and a huge line of floating text popped up before him in a blood red as eye-catching as it was bone-chilling. Violation OOC B points -10. Current B points 90. Shan Qingqiu released his breath, relieved. He had been prepared for a deduction in the realm of 50 or even to lose everything. Only 10 was much better than he'd thought. He'd take the loss for now. There would be future chances to earn those points back. Then, shortly after he let out that breath, Mingfan pointed to Luo Bingke and yelled, "Get him!" Shan Qingqiu nearly vomited a mouthful of blood straight from his chest. The gang of disciples heard the order and tackled Luo Bingke. Shan Qingqiu unconsciously tore off a nearby handful of leaves and sent them all singing through the air. He regretted it as soon as they left his hand. The fuck am I doing? No matter what happens, Luo Bingke is the magnificent male lead. It's not like he's never been ganged up on before. Like they could beat him to death. Like hell you need to worry self. Self. S-E-L-F. Self. He might have gotten away with the first interference, but now, fantastic. Even an idiot would notice something was off. Numerous disciples were splattered with blood. They anxiously gathered around Mingfan, no longer daring to gang up on Luo Bingke. Xizong, what's going on? Xizong, I've also been cut. Mingfan's face was green and white. Only after a long moment did he yell out, "Go!" Leading his group of lackeys, all covering their backs and holding their arms, he frantically withdrew. They truly came like the wind and left like it, too. Only Ning Ying remained, standing there dumbly for a while. Then she shouted, Alo, Alo, were you the one who sent them running just now? Lubinka shook his head, expression gloomy. He stood up, straightened with difficulty. Then he bent down again, with a tense look, searching the ground for something, turning over fallen leaves, dry twigs, and mud this way and that, over and over again. You need to be put in a facility. Catholic. Oh my god. Shen Qingqiu knew what he was looking for. Naturally, it was that jade pendant, which had been lost in the confusion. He saw it, clear as day. Before fighting, Mingfan had swung out his arm, and as he did, the pendant's red string had snagged on a branch high above their heads. But Shen Qingqiu couldn't point that out. Also, just after he had sent the leaves flying, he had heard that heart-shattering system scream. Violation, OOC, B points, -10 times 6, current B points, 30. In an instant, he'd fallen below a passing grade. So 1 leaf equals 10 points? Don't use such a simple, crude arithmetic. Ning Ying didn't dare speak. After all, she had caused this entire affair. If not for her big mouth, Lubinka would never have suffered a beating, and on top of that, he'd lost his pendant for no good reason. She swiftly began to help Lubinka's search. They, of course, remained empty-handed, even as it became dark. Lubinka stood dumbly in place, staring at the mess of the ground. They had overturned every speck of dirt in sight, but still they hadn't found it. Alo, if we can't find it, let's just let it be, said Ning Ying, a little frightened to see him so dazed and out of his mind. She took his hand. I'm sorry. I'll buy you another one later, all right? Lubinka paid her no heed. He slowly withdrew his head and walked toward the forest's edge, head lowered. Ning Ying hurried after him. Shen Qingqiu was truly impressed with himself. These 2 children had searched for an entire afternoon, and he'd actually gone and watched the whole time. How could he explain that to himself other than to say that he had too much fucking time on his hands? He waited until they'd gone a good distance, then finally emerged from his hiding place. He raised his head and looked about, then tapped his foot on the ground. In that moment, he experienced what it meant to have a body as light as a swallow, and with great ease he rose and plucked that jade pendant from where it was caught on a branch. Too much fucking time. Not much fucking... For now. For now is all I will say about that. Wait till the extras. Oh my god. Am I even allowed to read the extras on stream? I think I might have to read that book off stream. Anyway. Stop attacking me! What the hell? You're so rude. I can't even see what's going on. Anyway. If you don't like the section, the extras might get you mad, I know. I think I'll have to pre-record those. That's fine, that's fine. At least I know which chapters they are, so that I don't have to pre-record the whole book, you know. Stop! You're so rude. Wait, okay, we're almost done. We're almost at the stopping point. Let me just continue. Too much fucking time on his hands. He waited until they'd gone a good distance, then finally emerged from his hiding place. He raised his head and looked about, then tapped his foot on the ground. Oh yeah, we already read that. Oops. In truth, Shen Qingqiu wanted to secretly return it to Lubinka, but he was now familiar with the system's rules. That would definitely count as a violation. He didn't have any B points to squander. After some thought, Shen Qingqiu decided to keep it for the time being. Maybe later this jade pendant would be of great use. For example, perhaps during a critical moment, when his fate hung by a thread, he could bargain it in exchange for his life? Shen Qingqiu gave this possibility serious consideration. Right then, a line of green text with a pronounced 3D effect jumped into view. Congratulations! Obtained key item, fake Jade Guanyin ×1. For changing the storyline, Shenxing Cho, IQ plus 100, current B points 130. Please continue to work hard. At the points, all the points that had just been deducted were not only restored, he even got more! On top of that, given the influence this Jade Guanyin had on Lo Binka, it was definitely a high-level item, and it could be used. I think there's a 2 missing. It could be used to preserve his life. What a happy surprise! A rush of satisfaction flowed through Shen Qingqiu, cleansing him of the gloom that had set in while he crouched in the dark for a whole afternoon. At this moment, even the system's even the system's eminently punchable Google Translate like voice was melodious beyond compare. Meanwhile, outside the forest, Lo Binka had already left the back of the mountain, and he slowly unclenched his fist. Lying in his palm was a whole green leaf. Its edges were sharp and stained with blood. And that's where we're leaving off for today. We have like 10 pages left for the next chapter, but I think we're gonna leave that for the next Sunday. Sunday. Actually, I might have a dentist appointment next Sunday. I'm gonna have to check in with that. Next time, I guess. If we can't do Sunday, we'll do Saturday. It's fine, I'll just do reading one day after another. It has to be an S day. Scummy Sunday, scummy Saturday. But yeah. That is where we will leave off today. Oh my god. My favorite book! Stop attacking me! This guy is so rude. Gay. Check for gay. Roll for gay. Guys, do your daily gay checks. What the fuck? That's not fair. Can we switch? Can we switch? 8! Oh my god, rip. Oh, we're not having a good gay day. None of us. Catholic doesn't even want to be 19. That's crazy, you almost rolled a 20. Oh my god, okay. I should have gotten that 20. I know, me too. I'm the one reading this fucking book. Insane. Okay, next time is gonna be fun. Oh, next time he's such a baby. He's such a baby. Is there a hug for the little avatars? I don't think so. Maybe. I don't know much about stream avatars. I kind of want to make my own though. I've been using this Pixel program. And I actually paid for it because I'm stupid and if I like something, I'm gonna get it. But thankfully it's not a subscription thing. Anyway, I got that and it's fun. I can put this down now. Oh, I do have news though. Before we end, tomorrow I will be part of a karaoke relay for Trans Day of Visibility. Yippee! Hosted by Kai. What is their actual... Kai with a star? Their username. Yeah, Kai with a star. Kai. I believe it's hosted by Kai. Yeah, so yeah, I will be visible tomorrow. Only tomorrow. Never anywhere, anytime else. So yeah, that's that. If you're interested in that, come watch. And also support everyone else who is in the karaoke relay. I have information about that on my Blue Sky. I'll repost it again today because it's a big deal. It's a big deal and it's fun. But yeah. I'll see you then hopefully. But yeah. Thanks for watching. If it's your last and it's if you're last and it's 8 a.m. Yeah, I am gonna be the last act. Yeah, you might be sleeping, but ripperoni, I guess. Anyway, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Wait, should we raid someone? Wait, hang on. We have some people here. We could raid someone. Let's see. What are people doing today? Project Melody, Leon Lai. Why are so many big VTubers streaming right now? Sayu, Iron Mouse. Does your text-to-speech work? I have no idea. Probably not, because it's done through sound alerts. Did it work? I have no idea because I can't hear it. I don't have my headphones on. It has a little notification thing, but I don't know if it works or not. Yeah, that's how we do in sound alerts over here. Anyway. Who should we raid? Damn, this gay guy doesn't listen to chat. What the hell? I do. I say out your messages anyway. It doesn't even matter. I read your messages out loud. Most of the time. Sometimes I don't because you're annoying. Fuck you, chat. I'm kidding. Only a cat lick is annoying. Stop hitting me! Oh my god. Alright. Should we... Let's... Oh no, I don't know. I don't know. Oh my god, wait. Kyle is making a bento box for Xavier? Yeah, we're gonna raid Kyle. I need to know what's going on here. Love a deep space mention? Okay. On YouTube, it really doesn't matter. But, yeah, honestly, I could end stream on YouTube right now. Anyway, thanks for being here. See you later. Stay safe and, wear a mask. Okay, bye. Wait, no, I actually have to start raid. Wait, I forgot how to fucking do this. Start raid. Epic first stream? Yeah. Of course. It's them! It's the gays! Okay, I'll see you later. Bye! Raid now. Go raid. And I will skedaddle. Alright, seriously, bye. Bye.